You're listening to the Not For Click Sports podcast.
If I was in charge of the FA, I probably wouldn't be popular, but I'd sack him and get somebody else in before the tournament started.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Wow. The benchmark's so low, G. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like a pot noodle or a meal that you've cooked. You know what I mean? It's like, they're both terrible dishes.
What's happening, people? It's the Not For Clicks Sports podcast. We are back. First of all, apologies for our absence last week. We were all away. It is what it is. Second of all, before we get into this week's show, I want to just ask you guys out there to just do something for us now. We're going to give you a few seconds. Just do me a favor. If you're listening to this via your audio platform, just go to YouTube, find subscribe, and just click it, please. We're going to give you 5 seconds. Yeah, just try and munch yourself for a few seconds. Because I know you guys listen to the... Huh?
Do some whole music, Jord. Like, do. While we wait. No, forget it.
Okay. In that time, hopefully you guys found YouTube, found our channel, and subscribe. Because I know you guys listen to the pod. I know you guys listen to it. But we need you guys to subscribe. Support the team. Slap subscribe. Give us a comment. And share it as well. Because we're building a nice little community of listeners and followers on the Not For Clicks pod. We want to make sure that you guys are locked in. So click subscribe and let's keep it moving. We are, as you may see, if you are watching on YouTube, if you're listening, you won't know. We're missing Ollie. He's away this week. He's working, so we are Ollie-less, but we can make this work. You know, G, Marv, we good? We can make it work. Yeah,
we don't need Ollie in it anyway.
Yeah.
We're a lot less miserable on the pod this week.
To be fair to him, he's not been that miserable the last few weeks. He's been working on his levels of misery. So I think you're being a little bit harsh there, but he'll be back, I'm sure, next week. All right, let's get into it now. We've got a bit of a theme going this week, guys. So the theme we've kind of got is England, Englishness, English football, and English managers, right? So that's going to be the theme of the pod that will shape our talking points for the next hour or so. I did have some quick hits, guys. I did have them, but you know what? I'm going to drop the quick hits this week and just have a general pre-chat about England, because all my quick hits were around the England football team. England, at the time of recording, are playing Belgium at the moment. It's 1-1 in the first half. And I just thought it'd be a good chance for us to kind of go through a few things regarding England. I'll start with you, Gabriel. We saw England lose to Brazil over the weekend. I thought England got kind of harshly panned for their performance. It wasn't great. It wasn't a brilliant game. But I thought the reaction was a little bit OTT. But in regards to England's preparation, and again, I'll repeat, at the time of recording, England are drawing with Belgium. Where do you think England stand in terms of how you think they look in readiness to do damage at the Euros in Germany this summer?
I mean, first thing, I have to disagree with you totally about your assessment of England's performance. I thought it was drab. As many England performances are, I think they were lucky to get away with losing just 1-0, which kind of gave it a little bit of respectability. And the worst thing is, it's not even a particularly great Brazil side. It's a Brazil side in transition as well. And England are at home, and there's emphasis on the home team to go and attack. Even if your Southgate's in charge, you still have to be. It's still the emphasis for you to take to go and win at home. So I thought it was a pretty awful performance. Where they are in terms of preparation is, I think, where it always is. Get through qualification relatively easy, but I don't feel any more convinced that if a big team comes up in the tournament that the tools are there to execute and dispatch. I was encouraged by the opposition they're choosing in the build-up. So, Brazil and Belgium, two good opposition to kind of test that against. And whilst the lineup against Brazil wasn't as conservative as Southgate normally is, I think it's just shown that I just don't think he has the tactical nous to implement an attacking lineup. And, if I was in charge of the FA, I probably wouldn't be popular, but I'd sack him and get somebody else in before the tournament started.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Gee, I don't like the geezer, but even I think that's a bit dramatic, mate.
Yeah, it's just silly. It's not even dramatic. It's just stupid. It's not even dramatic. It's just stupid.
For a man that was willing to let Jose relegate him, remember them days, Jord? He was willing to let Jose take Chelsea down and still keep his job.
Do you think England win the tournament with Southgate?
Listen, I don't think England win the tournament with Southgate, but I don't think they win it with whoever you sack Southgate for. So you might as well give the man the last tournament, and if it don't work out, then he kicks rocks. Gee, listen, you know me, man. I'm not a Southgate fan, but to sack him in March for a June tourney that he qualified for is dramatic. Is this you just lining up Jose for the job to take a tournament football?
Or Lampard?
If you want to win, you don't go with Southgate.
I think
if you want to just get to the quarters and go out to France, then stick with Southgate. It's as simple as that.
Either way, they ain't winning, Southgate or not. But to sack the man now, G, that is, you know what I mean? That's like doing the deal at work, and just about before it's going to launch, they say, yeah, we're going to get someone else to do it. You might as well let him have the tournament.
No, that is the mentality that we have in England. That's the problem. That's why you don't win.
So who would you get? So if you were the head of the FA, who would you bring in then tomorrow?
Jord, I'd get you rather than Southgate.
Oh,
you can do worse. You can do worse. Come on.
Now I am being silly.
All right.
Just now. That's the line.
I mean, Klopp's leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. Do you think you fancy a one tournament contract?
But the season finishes in what? May, and the tournament starts in June. So you are clocked out.
You know what, Marvin? You're doing what you accused me of a couple of weeks ago. You're entertaining a conversation that's just ridiculous. Let's bring a bit of sense into it now, Marvin.
That's crazy.
Let's bring some sense to this now. So Marvin, all right. Let's assume he moves on in the summer. Who do you think is the best candidate to kind of come in, take this position and take England forward, assuming they don't win it in this summer?
Do you know what, Jord? The $1 million question is whether the FA want to stay English, and that's a big.
Where do you stand on that?
Do you know what? I've said for a while now, there's not an abundance of top drawer managers who are ready. Because it's that balance, right? If you're a top drawer manager, you're going to manage at a top drawer club. Like, international is like semi-retirement, isn't it? It's like you just go and watch lots of games where you don't do anything for like 90% of the year. So a top, you're not even scouting. You know what I mean? You could do it via champ if you really cared. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think it's like a top drawer manager. It's a balance. That being said, I've said it for a while and I've been heavily criticised. If they were going to stay English, there's just something about Eddie Howe that I really love. Like, I think he's a really good manager, a really good coach. He's very progressive. And there's a lot of slim pickings in if you're going to stay English. So Eddie Howe is someone that I really like. If you're going to go like abroad, I generally think I'd have a go at Zidane. I think Zidane could do something at an international level, but it just depends on the FA. I mean, although I think there was a lot of lunacy in what G was saying, one thing that G and I are unanimously agreed on is that Southgate is not good enough. And those two managers I've mentioned, plus any other manager managing in the Prem right now, is better than Gareth Southgate. I feel very passionately about that. And I'd even put Allardyce right now above Southgate. He is just literally one of the worst human beings in football as far as I'm concerned. Very snivelly and snotty and nerdy. I can't stand the man. So Howe for me, for England, I'd give him a go if it was an Englishman.
I got one more question regarding Southgate in a second, but I'll stick with you, Marvin. Your boy Mainu made his debut against Brazil on the weekend. He's starting at the moment against Belgium. Yeah. But who would be your choice for the third slot in midfield, if indeed you would have a 3-man midfield?
It's a good question. And to be fair, it wouldn't be mainly because I think it's just too soon, Jord. he's got all of the attributes and the criteria we should be looking for. But I think it would be bold for Southgate to start him in the first game of the tournament. Personally, I would take a shot and make the front. I would make Bellingham, Rice sit, and I'd play Foden in the 10. Is what I would do, and then I'd put Rashi or someone else on the left, Saka on the right, Kane in the middle. Is what I'd go for. Obviously, not everyone's a fan of Foden. I am, and I think he can play in the 10. I actually think for England, Bellingham shouldn't be playing in the 10. I know he's playing in the 10 for them now, but that's just my view. Like,
no,
it would be Rice the sitter, Bellingham the box-to-boxy, and then Foden as the 10.
All right.
That would be my
final one, G. Back to Southgate. If Southgate wins the Euros this summer, let's say he wins the Euros this summer, why shouldn't he be a viable candidate for Chelsea or United in the summer?
Whoa. I mean, first thing, he's the leading candidate for United. So, you know, we're talking about Mar's future manager, which should be ironic. I'd love to.
It's not like your manager's pulling up trees, mate. So, you know, I wouldn't be too.
My manager's pulling up more trees than your manager's pulling up trees. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll be careful, G. But if he wins the Euros,
I don't care if he walks on water. Southgate is not a viable candidate to manage Chelsea.
See, this is where you lot's argument about Southgate falls down, because your argument is that he's a loser, right? So if he wins. Right, so if he wins, he's not a loser, is he?
But your argument's ridiculous as well, because he ain't won nothing. You know what I mean?
No,
you're giving us hypotheticals.
No, but my question, is, if he wins...
We've got a balance, Jord. One is Southgate a loser? And up till now, me and G are right.
Right.
You've then done a hypothetical, right? What if he wins? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if Hard goes on a run and wins the Prem? Do I still want to keep him? Probably not. Like,
but that's fine. You've given an answer to the hypothetical. So give an answer to this hypothetical.
What I'm saying is you're being very accusatory to us, but we're on the right side of fact right now. Do you know what I mean? You're not. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've seen it all. So that's fine.
We'll play the game. If he lifts the Euros with England,
if he lifts the Euros, it will be. You know how it's going to go. It will be like plodding along to get to the finals. Probably win on penalties. That's not enough to convince me that he's someone to take Chelsea forward.
Because Jose's football under Chelsea was scintillating. That was great.
It was far better than Southgate's, George. You're being disingenuous.
Was it really?
It was much better. It was leagues above Southgate's. You remember Duff and Robin flying down the wing? I'm not having that at all.
You lot cling on to that one season with Duff and Robin, but the rest of the football under Jose was functional and awful. It was pragmatic and he got the job done. It was not good.
Let's not pretend. Like, I'm for you on this, G. Like, Jose is a winner, Southgate's not. But let's not conflate the two when we start thinking Jose was giving you champagne footy. He ain't giving you champagne.
In comparison to Southgate. Comparison to Southgate. That's what I'm saying.
The benchmark's so low, G. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like a pot noodle or a meal that you've cooked. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're both terrible dishes. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think Southgate can be a barometer because both you and I are here slagging him off. You know what I mean? Like, can't do that, G. Like, it's one of those things, Jord. If he wins, first of all, congratulations to England. I'm happy that they've won a major tournament. But I think that's enough where he can just retire and just do pundit stuff. Like,
No, maybe, but I'm just exposing you guys' personal agenda because even if he wins something, you're still not having him. And your whole basis about him is that he's a loser. And I'm saying if he wins...
But George,
he's a loser. He plays crap football.
And he was a loser at club football, which you're essentially asking us to adjudicate him on. You're going to say he wins a tournament and he's top tier, but we saw him at Borough and he weren't good, George.
I mean, he was 36 years old, but we can move it forward. And also, my argument is fallen down because he's literally losing as we speak right now to Belgium 2-1.
George, you've seen this fact. You've seen the stats, right? They've played like 26 games against top 10 ranked countries. They've won only 4 of those games. in those major tournaments where you guys love him, want to cuddle him, got to a final on his own turf and still lost, right? Where they had one shot on target. He's beat the teams we expect him to. And all of those people that go, well, you can only beat the team in front of you. The teams that have been in front of him that have been better have beat him. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's excelling. And he is a man with a very fortunate track record, Jord. And the bottom line is, the Euros, the last Euros, they weren't like, it wasn't an amazing array of international teams. They got to the final and the bed was still brown, right? Like, it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, people just laud it, a bit like G does with Jose, because other managers have failed to get him to the final. Because he got him to the final, he's immediately top tier. But the thing that people just don't talk about is he lost the final, they played awful, and they were at home. Like, I appreciate that he's got to latter stages, but anytime they've come up against big opposition, they've lost. Even when they had Belgium. Yeah. And like, George, people, it's weird because it's weird. The thing that frustrates me the most is the people that love Southgate blame the players, and the people that hate Southgate
like Ollie
blame Southgate, like me.
The thing is, I hear you, but I mean, we'll move it on. But my point is that I think he is not helping himself at the moment. The performances aren't great, but you know my views on tournament football. I don't care. I don't understand this obsession with the need to have exciting football for 7 games. Cup football is just win. So this idea that the football's boring, if it wins, I don't really care. But he's not even winning, so I get it, right? And he's got a group of players. But where I think you lot are harsh on him is that you don't put enough responsibility on the players. You guys laud these players way higher than I think that you should, and you absolve the players of any responsibility of those final losses or semi-final defeats. That's my problem. You seem to put it all on Southgate.
I can tell you that Kane put it in Rosie when he had an opportunity to level it up. Like, I can blame a player, Jord, but the fact is, when it's the style of football is not the players, right? Like, one shot on goal in a final at the home of football, allegedly at Wembley. I'm looking at the manager, right?
But Marvin, my question would be why? Because you got 11 players on the pitch there who are talented, unless they've been told literally only take one shot on target.
No,
the players are doing something wrong on the pitch.
No, I agree, but I don't think he said only have one shot. But right. I think tactically he's put them in positions or a mode of player where it's contain and not be adventurous, not go for the jugular, and it's cost them. And Jord, let me be clear, and I know you want to move on from Southgate, but you opened this door, so we're going to have it out a little bit, right? Let me be clear. It's not just the style of play. The hypocrisy that oozes through the man from, you got to be in form, you got to be playing, then he picks Maguire, right? Oh, I'm looking at people in the Premier League. Then he wants to get Henderson, but people like Tomori and Loftus-Cheek are out in the cold. He's the man that said Phil Jones is a better footballer than Chris Smalling. Like, I don't forget these things.
Oh, I see. Here we go. I see now. I see.
If he was a man true to his word and lived by the thing he said last week, I'd have a lot more respect for him. But if you look at Southgate's footballing aside, if you look at the things, the way he panders to the media, and I think that's why he's been given so much rope, because he's a media darling, you know, M&S love his waistcoat and all that baloney. The bottom line is, it's riddled with hypocrisy, and I can't deal with people that just chat rubbish, George. It's as simple as that. And the key one for me was the amount of people he didn't pick because of quote unquote form or needing to play for their club. And Maguire's been a stalwart. I'm not annoyed at Maguire being picked, but you've got to choose your narrative very carefully. If that's how you feel and you've got people that you like that you pick, don't then use that as an excuse not to pick other people. I just don't like the guy. Right. It's really simple.
All right, I disagree, but we move. Let's now move on to something a bit wider that may encompass Southgate. Let's have a chat, guys, about why England failed to produce top level winning managers, and obviously Southgate will be a part of this, but we'll broaden it out. Let me come to UK, bro. you know, the last English manager to lift the trophy in this country was Harry Redknapp with Portsmouth, the FA Cup. We've seen the likes of Eddie Howe have a good season with Newcastle last season. We've seen Sean Dyche keep Burnley up before he couldn't. Everton keep them up before it's looking like they're going to go down this season. And I look at other nations like Spain in particular. You know, maybe Spain's an anomaly, but they just seem to produce a wealth of managers that, even if they're not winning trophies, the quality and caliber of Spanish managers at the moment, you know, it was German managers about what, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Other nations seem to produce top level managers / winning managers. Do you have a theory as to why you think England struggle to produce, well, one Premier League winning manager, but even if they're not winning leagues, just like having a decent amount of, you know, well-performing managers across the Premier League?
I think it started from the culture in England in terms of style of play, which was very much like, you know, all action, get the ball down the wing, get it in the box, you know, clear it, compared to, like, you know, the Italian league, which historically was more tactical, and the Spanish league, which was more technical. And I think that those coaches have kind of come to the forefront. The English coaches are now starting to catch up, with Eddie Howe, I guess, being the example. But there is, I think, possibly you hear English coaches complain about their reputation preceding them. And I hate when Allardyce says, if my name was Allardycio, I would have been Brazil manager by now, and all that kind of stuff. But I think there is something to it in that we tend to look for that shiny thing outside of our league rather than kind of look at what's available in front of us. But generally speaking, I think...
Sorry to cut you there, G, is that applicable beyond football? So do we have that same mentality with clothes and food? We'd rather go for a fancy, I don't know, different culture, cuisine food rather than an English? Would we rather buy the fancy Armani rather than the M&S?
Listen, you're not taking your missus to a quote unquote English restaurant, are you? You're taking her to an Italian restaurant with like a nice bit of bread and some oil on the side.
And is that because of the perception, or is it because the food actually is better?
well, I mean,
I know some horrible Italians.
Someone said to me the other day that England is the only country that stole spices from all around the world but didn't put them in the food. So maybe that told you something. But no,
I mean, Jord, it's no coincidence that I think the top dish consumed in England is an Indian curry, right? Like, let's be real about it.
You're saying that I'm on Just Eat, about to order some fish and chips for after as well.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because India's the one food that I despise. But you take my point. Is there a perception that anything foreign is just inherently better, or is there any kind of truth to that?
There is a perception, but unfortunately there's also kind of facts to support the perception. And, you know, when it comes to actually getting the results, I mean, I saw Graham Potter flounder horribly at Chelsea. Now, you could say...
He'd be a good one to replace Southgate, wouldn't he, G? English?
Oh, man.
But G, you've literally got a foreign manager that's doing arguably worse than the English manager at Chelsea.
yeah, and you notice I am just as critical. In fact, I'm probably harsher on Poch, but I am on Potter, which is saying something.
You just didn't have
it's pretty harsh on Potter, yeah.
No, I think you know, you asked the question earlier, should they go English? I think they should go English, and I think opportunities should be given. But Jord, I must admit, it's hard for me to feel sympathy for middle-aged white men when they're so... When it comes to giving opportunities, any other walk of life, they you know what I mean? They never ever see the problem. But then, you know, when there's a problem,
when it affects them.
No, you know, what are we going to do? They're taking all our jobs. Get out of here.
Marv, what do you think? Do you have a theory? Or do you think it's possibly expectations of an English manager managing an England club are higher? and the bar is set higher and unfair. Why do you think, they struggle to even produce many?
I agree with a lot of things that G said, but if I'm really blunt, it is just about space, Jord. Like, you look at the big clubs, right? You look at City, Man United, Liverpool, to a lesser extent, Chelsea and Arsenal and Spurs. Like, none of those clubs really have had an English manager. And I mean English in quite some time. I think their hierarchy looks to the continent. There's still this preconception that the continent produce better tactical minds, and England's still about 4-4-2, getting in the mixer type vibes. And that stereotype has, even though I don't think it's the case, I think that stereotype is still littered throughout the football world, right? And if you look at what we had, England have had Southgate, they had Allardyce for a really short stint, but then the Capellos, the Sven-Goran Erikssons, like, they've dabbled mainly on the continent as well. So I think it's just space. Like, those managers like the Howes, for example, Newcastle's about as high as he flies. Unless he like wins the league with Newcastle, I don't think he gets a shot at the big time. And then that unavailability of the top job will hamper their chances of managing their country. So I think it's just space, Jord. I think there isn't enough space for English managers to thrive, and clubs are defaulting to going to the continent because of the misconceptions that they've got the smarter, brilliant tactical minds, and the likes of Pep and Guardiola are impossible to find in our shores, is my personal view.
Do you think, G, there's an element of entitlement as well that, we're seeing the likes of Jord and Lampard, who, Scholes had a go at, albeit Oldham, to be fair, but there's an element of not wanting to kind of get their hands dirty and go into lower leagues and go abroad to lower leagues and kind of go, just after you finish playing, get your badges and then just go missing for 4 or 5 years to really understand management. I think there's a lot of people that think that it's just simple. I was in dressing room. I was managed by the biggest guys in the world. It's not that difficult. And I just wonder if the European managers, the foreign managers, are a little less entitled and are prepared to do that work.
Yeah, to answer your question, Jord, I don't know. I actually do. I think you make a point there, and I think what it does is it makes it harder for the English managers who actually do that. So Gerrard comes in, gets a job, all this fanfare around him, he flops, goes out to Saudi Arabia. Now, the next time, they're thinking, okay, I'm going to get a quote-unquote proper manager. And then go out and get Emery, who's a foreign. And I think, why is it that, these people get shooed? And I'll put Lampard in there as well, Chelsea legend. Never should have got half the opportunities he's got, fails at them, and then actually coaches who actually do their badges, who go through the ranks, who actually learn, don't get the opportunities, unfortunately. And the ones who do get the opportunities, it's just recycled at the same time at the lower end of the tables, the Dyches, the Allardyces. So yeah, I think there's definitely is a problem. It's not. I don't think it's English coaches broadly's fault that you get like the Lampards and Gerrards who kind of get a privilege, but it is.
You think they're the outliers? You think?
I think they are the outliers, but I do think that football in general needs to be more strategic about placing its coaches. And I'm going to actually maybe even include Southgate in that as well, because he got the job just by pure happenstance, right? He was there. It was Hodgson that left.
You say happy stance?
Yeah.
That he said? Is that a word?
I don't think it is.
Yeah. Is it not?
Happy stance.
Google it. Alex will let us know. But yeah, it was just from purely circumstantial. He was in the right place at the right time, and now he's like taking England to kind of free tournaments. You know what I mean? So like,
but Howard, isn't Southgate the kind of example that undoes your point? He went to the under-21s. He proved that level that he could, he could manage a group
at that level.
I think he would say I was largely a big part of why the under-21s and 17s won the World Cup, why there's so many young players currently coming through the English system. It's not just on him, but he would say, I'm a big part of that. Why do these young players love playing for him?
He would. Do they love you playing for him? I don't know. He would say that, but the truth be told is he was a last minute caretaker manager that and was shot and got an opportunity. And look, he's done relatively well with his opportunity, to give him some praise. But there was no. I don't know if at the time he was the ideal for the next person. Maybe a couple of years down the line. So there's no structure and no plan to kind of who's going to get opportunities. And I think they need to be a bit like that rather than just picking the flavour of the month.
But I think, Marv, that actually is the structure. I think the idea should be that the succession planning should be that we're going to employ, let's look at England, we're going to bring through our own talent. We're going to inspire a generation of coaches that can manage the England national team. When Southgate moves on, we're going to, the plan in theory, like in players, should be that the under-21 manager, in theory, should be the next guy up. And I think if you're an English person, and you're an English coach, you wouldn't be able to believe that, oh, actually, there is a pathway for me, in a way that other nations, they that's what they do. There's a pathway for those nations' coaches to believe that they can get to the top of the national game. You bring in a foreigner now, you block that. And then why would you're kind of just killing all the inspiration for up and coming English managers, no?
Oh, Jord, I'm kind of with you, but Lee Carsley's the current under-21
No,
manager.
I'm not saying that he should be the next guy. I'm just saying the principle is...
Yeah, I mean... I don't know. I'm a bit more basic than you, Jord. Like, the principle should be, can you win? You know what I mean? Like, at a club level, have you done enough? Have you transformed? Have you motivated? Have you... And I'm not saying, like, they've got... Because of what I've just said about needing space... I'm not necessarily saying that they need to win a Premier League title, but as a starter for 10, show me that you can get the business done at a club level. I think that's like the foundation, and like that might be part of my reasoning for my disgust of Gareth Southgate, the fact that he never really did that. I understand what you're saying in terms of under-21s paying your dues, like that's very valid, and we need to take into account that like international football, whichever way you want to spin it, is very different from like club football. But the bottom line is, Jord, if you really deep it, as G said with his made up word, there is nothing credentially that Southgate has that means he should be managing one of the like biggest international clubs on the scene. Like there's nothing. Like it, I don't even think did he like the under-21 win. Was he the manager there? I don't think he was.
No. I think just after he left, they won it.
Just after he left, George. So
that's again unfair, man.
To get it done. Well, so now you're saying it's unfair because he set the foundations. So
yeah,
he should
that's exactly what I'm saying.
He didn't win. He didn't win, George. George, like at the benchmark of international football, like for me, it's like getting to the final. 10, 15 years from now, we might talk about it, but my kids won't know who got to the final. But you can Google who won.
All right.
You know what I mean, Jill?
I want to take it away from Southgate.
There's 2 tournaments. We're having a bit of a...
All right.
Give me a Nations League, Southgate. Give me a Nations League. Come on.
No, you know what? The Nations League will do it for me, you know.
Hang on. So final question would be, going back to, English managers and English coaches, is it just as simple to say, G, that there's just more foreign owners now? That's the difference now. There's just more foreign owners and they're going to bring in foreign managers.
No, I don't think that has influence on it. But I would say, because I think the English owners are also more likely to go outside and find someone else from abroad too. But I would say there is a culture in Italy, Spain, Germany to a certain extent as well. But they do look for their own, and I think owners or clubs as a conglomerate tend to look for their own. So maybe that is something that needs to change. But I don't think it's the foreign owners saying, "Well, I'm going to bring my mate from another thing." They just look for whoever's the best
person,
candidate,
yeah.
and the best candidate doesn't happen to be English most of the time.
Like George, let me flip it on his head. Forget England for a second. Does Southgate get a top job in any other league of the big clubs? So does he get Does he get
No, but I think we're conflating.
Inter or a Napoli?
No, but come on, we're smart enough to know that managing an international team is different to managing a club team. We know that, right? So
why am I talking? Why are we talking about it for Man United then? Why is that even a conversation?
It's just fine.
That's what's happening.
This is fine. Yeah, just not. This is, the paper said it, so it must be true.
That story's been going around for a while. I almost put it on my quick hits last time, but I thought, you know what, I don't want to get behind.
You know what? It has been going on for a while. Let me be clear. If that happens, I'm done. You won't see me on a pod. You won't even see me supporting Man United anymore. I'll just be one of those guys like burying myself into like reading books and going to museums. Like, I'll be done with sports.
It's actually well thought as well. It's not just like a flyer. Yeah.
I'm hoping Ineos are just smart enough to know that no Man United fan is on board with that. Like I don't know what the rationale
care
is
about that, but let's move on now. Let's talk about now the second tier of English football. It's the Championship. We've been meaning to get this on for a while. Let's have a chat now about what's happening down there in the doldrums, the depths of English football in the Championship, because it's looking kind of lively, to be fair. I want to know from you guys. It's a bit of an unfair question. It's definitely a question steeped in snobbery and gatekeeping. But who do we want in the Premier League? Who's the team that you think, yeah, I wouldn't mind them coming back up into the Prem or come into the Prem? Because let's have a look at the table now. So looking now, Leeds are currently top. They played a game more than Leicester, but they're level on points. Ipswich, in order, Ipswich, Southampton, West Brom and Norwich make up the playoff teams, but Southampton do have 2 games in hand on everybody else. And just outside, you've got the likes of Hull and Coventry City, who I think are the 2 teams. If anyone's going to break into that playoff spot, it will be one of those two teams. But Marv, have you got a preference of who? First of all, can we all agree we don't want Leeds? None of us like Leeds.
We all hate
right?
Leeds, man.
Okay.
We don't want Leeds.
Okay.
I mean, I took a friend of mine to Brighton, Leeds about 3-4 years ago, and it was the bitter cold, like January, Jord, and there was like fat guys with their tops off, just beating their own beer bellies. I don't want to see that back in the Prem. We all hate Leeds.
To be fair, Newcastle do that, and they're in the Prem.
Yeah, fair. But they didn't beat their bellies. They just dance around. These guys were physically inflicting harm upon themselves on a really cold day. And we're Brighton, right? So we're by the coast here. There's not a lot of upside there. So for me personally, I've always liked Southampton and Leicester as teams. And they'd be my 2 that I would like to go up. Also, it's not lost on me that, you know, Ipswich have McKenna as manager, who was in the Man United backroom staff. Both him and Carrick have gone on to the Championship and are doing half decent. So I'd like to support McKenna there. But Jord, I mean, I'm loving the Championship. And I don't know if this stat is still true, but about 3-4 years ago, so it must be true now, because some of the teams that we're talking about were in the Prem back then. Like the Championship for attendance at games is like the 4th or 5th biggest in Europe in terms of gates. It's huge. And like for me, I think
League One's top 10. Sorry, Bob. League One is top 10 in the world. It is.
That's more of a damning indictment on the world, if I'm honest. But like for me, it's I've been reading about it. I've been watching a lot of the games. I've been really excited because although I know we've got a 3-horse race in the Prem, like Leicester looked like they were shoo-ins for the majority of the season. Yeah. They looked like they were bankers. And then they've run into a bit of trouble. And to your point, all of the teams you've mentioned still have half an eye on trying to go up automatically, which I think is great. And Leeds are doing the business. And they're doing the business with a Bamford that isn't really performing and has had still some injuries. Vardy's still kicking around. I'm loving it. I will. Anyone but Leeds, I'd be glad to welcome them back at the expense of some really boring, drab Premier League teams like Sheffield United, like Luton. I know everyone loves Luton and they're plucky, but I mean, you have to go through someone's back garden to get into their ground. That's not Premier League quality there, George. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I'm really excited, and I think I think I read something like they could all, like 3 of the teams could all still finish over 100 points based on their run rate. Like the top 3-4 teams are absolutely bossing the league. So we'll see how it goes. If you wanted my bet right now for automatic, I'd actually say Leeds and Leicester will go up automatically. But I've got half an eye on Southampton, and I'd love to, like, they're just an inoffensive team, Jord. I went down to St Mary's a couple of times, just a nice vibe. They'll shake you. I went into one of their pubs, and I should have been there because we're in a Man United kit. And they turned me away, but politely. You know what I mean? Politely, it was like, "You're not welcome here." But there's a pub down the road.
They'll love you there. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas somewhere else would have just been like, "Clear the door, or else we'll kick your head in." And that'd probably be in Leeds, to be fair. So I'd love to see Southampton back.
Gee, we'll come back to Leicester in a second, but I mean, West Bromwich Albion. Still, what's the point? Do you want them back in the league? Man. Do you want them back in the Premier League?
What, West Brom?
Yeah, come on.
Oh no!
Come on,
definitely not. Sorry, Alex, but
so just for listeners and viewers. Our producer and video editor Alex is a big West Brom fan. In fact, you know what, Alex, can we bring you in? Can our listeners and can we get you in, or doesn't that it'll be the one time you get to make an appearance on the pod? Oh, Alex hasn't been recorded. Okay, so just for our listeners and our viewers, Alex, unfortunately can't join us.
He doesn't want to say anything that's going to incriminate him later. Because let's face it, they get promoted. You know what I'm saying?
If it was Middlesbrough, it'd come on, but for West Brom, you can't do it.
We'd find a way.
And just a quick call out to Rossini at Hull, right? There's not a lot of managers of colour doing the business. I know they've had a bit of thing, but you know, it'd be good to see that. It's not going to happen. And to be honest, I'd probably put Hull in the same bucket as West Brom. We don't need him. we don't need him.
Well, gee, I was going to move on, but I've got nothing more on West Brom. Is there anything you want to say about West Brom?
What is there to say about West Brom?
All right, let's just move on.
You guys have been hard. Do you know what? One quick call out about West Brom is for those of you a bit of a weirdo like myself who watched the class of '92. They with Salford City, they signed Asante. What's his surname? Asante something, Brandon Asante something, who actually was out of football. Salford brought him back, and then you can see Gary Neville talking about him like, if we get $500,000 for him, we got to sell him. He's gone to West Brom and he's done half decent, and I love that, like, rags to riches, like had to get a job as a labourer sort of vibe, but now he's playing in the Championship. I love those stories.
More like rags to rags, isn't it? So...
I'm trying here, Al. I'm trying.
Listen, West Brom have had 4 minutes on this podcast. That's 3.5 minutes too much if you ask me. Let's move on. Let's go to Leicester.
Thomas Asante is his name.
All right, well done. Brilliant. Good luck. Yeah, shout out.
Good luck,
let's go. Yeah. Let's go to Leicester now because they've got charges, hanging over their neck. I don't believe there's been a... Go on.
Free Leicester.
Free Leicester. You mad.
He's saying that because he knows there's some charges around the corner for him.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Shameless.
All those criminals got a band together.
Well, you know what, Jord, I don't know if you read anything, but I heard that the Premier League are pushing back on the Prem, right? To say the clubs are saying that FFP is just not vibing for them, and they want to push back on the way the rules are written, right? Because I remember G said it on a couple of pods ago that the reason why January was so quiet is because no one wants to take the risk of splashing the cash. So if I was a betting man, which you know I am, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some changes in the next couple of years.
Well, what's messed up about the Leicester situation is that there might not be a decision until the end of the season, until after the season, which if you're one of the rivals in the Championship, i.e. West Brom, you're fuming because it's like, hang on a minute, you've broken the rules, but you're not going to be punished for it.
Did they break the rules this year in the Champ, or is it from Premier League?
But they're on course to break it for this year as well.
Yeah.
Unless they make a sell by a certain date, they'll break it this year.
Who they got worth anything over there? They got the Dewsbury Hall, right? I heard Man United were linked with him. He could be worth a bit of cash. Cheeky 7 million bid on that.
It's not looking good. But what do you think that would do, G, for the integrity of the league if the decision was to be made at the end of the season after they, as Marv says, look like they will be promoted back to the Prem?
Yeah, it won't look good, Jord. And I guess, I understand, FFP or whatever it is, profit and sustainability. I get the principles behind it, but I just think they need to look at something different now. Like, I think they need to look at it from a perspective of, can your owner realistically afford to bank for your club? And there's loads of massive insurance companies who will put some insurance down or like over a 5-year period to ensure that you can actually afford it. Getting involved and like taking points off Nottingham Forest, taking points off Everton. The league is just looking silly now. Like they just really need to kind of get to a place where they just.
How about just don't break the rules?
Jord, I hope you can see what he's doing here.
Like, I can see what he's doing.
As long as the owner can afford, G, you are
it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, G.
Bring back Roman.
It's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing.
Gee, man, come on, you're better than that.
Okay,
he's not. That's the funny thing is, he's not.
Let's break it down. What's the benefit of any of these rules? Like, is the wealth being divided more fairly? No, it's not. Man City is still winning the league pretty much every other year. It's not creating more competition. And then you're taking points off like Nottingham Forest. Like what's the point?
So what would you do? Because they're breaking rules. That's why they're being punished. They're not just being punished because they feel like it will. They're breaking rules. If you break rules, you get punished.
Yeah, but clearly, maybe there's something to the rules just not being sustainable.
All right. Well, my final question, Marv.
The first thing I would do is bring back Roman Abramovich. That's the first thing I'd do.
I just can't do it. But my final question, Marv, is about the parachute payments. What do you think about that? Because the complaint from a lot of Championship and EFL clubs is that it just allows basically the same 8 teams to kind of bounce from the Premier League to the Championship, and the logic is that they're trying to help. As I understand it, they're trying to help the teams that go down not go under, because they're going down with Premier League paying wages, right? So the parachute, as I believe it, is to help you to keep going for 2 years whilst you are still playing Premier League wages. But the counter from the rest of the EFL clubs is those teams have a massive advantage. They're getting like 60, 70 million, I think, just for getting relegated. And you've got teams in the Championship that have never even touched Prem. So what would be your solution to parachute payments? Are they needed, or do you think they ultimately make it significantly unfair?
I don't know if I agree with everything you said there, Jord, because most of those clubs that I know you love to hate, the West Broms of this world, when they get relegated,
I mean, it's only West Brom, to be fair.
Most of their stars have like relegation clauses in their players' contract, right? So when they go down, it's like, and I remember Micah Richards talking about him getting relegated with Villa and it like half these wages and stuff. So I think realistically, my solution is they need to like, clubs just need to run their businesses better, right? So if there is a chance of relegation, they should factor that in. And I agree with those clubs that say the parachute payment just helps them steady the ship when they don't need to. I totally understand the sentiment that happened, because before the parachute payment, some of these clubs were going down and they were in dire straits. But Jord, I'm a realist, right? So if you're going to go bankrupt as a club, go bankrupt as a club, right? The biggest motivation for running your club better, for taking in better ownership, is if you go out of business, your club is out of business, right? Like I take a fairly harsh line on that. And actually, I think even the top clubs should be doing contracts for a rainy day, right? I'd hazard a guess and say the Arsenals, Liverpools, Chelseas of this world don't have relegation clauses in their contract. But you got to future-proof your club. And then if it comes down to the fact that you go down and it's fire sale and you got to bring through the youth and rebuild, so be it. But I take a pretty harsh line on it, because I think a bit like you, Jord, I am a bit frustrated by, is it Norwich? Is it West Brom? Is it Hull? Like, these lot again, not glamorous, gonna go down again, sell their best player, away we go. Like, if I see Norwich, Hull, West Brom again, Jord, I'll be so tired. They're not even good away days, Jord. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't even go there and enjoy it. Like, it's and Norwich is in the arse end of everywhere. Like, I went there and it was terrible. Like, and that's why I'm kind of on the fence of Ipswich, because that's also in the arse end anyway. But like Southampton's a good away day. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of I understand the sentiment. I think it all needs a little bit of work. But Jord, like I had this joke in the group chat with a friend, and I said, like, teams like West Brom and Sheffield United, even if they got promoted, I'd say unless you're going to show us considerable investment and you're actually going to try and stay up, you're not allowed up. Even if you win the championship, like, you're not allowed to come up, because I am sick of those clubs just getting a bit of cheddar and going back down and bossing the championship. Like, it is a vicious cycle that we need to end. And that's why, to a lesser extent, I'm happy for Ipswich, because I think 2 years ago they were in League One, so fair play to them to do it. And
I think Ipswich, I don't know for sure, but as I understand it, they've not got to where they've got to by spending their way out of trouble. They've had a plan. They've had some dark years, but they had a plan. They got a coach in McKenna there that seems to be, the hottest thing in the EFL. You know what I mean? So yeah, fair play to them. I've got nothing against Ipswich as well.
And I think it's the same thing, Jordan. I don't want to digress from the topic, but it's the same thing with the management as well, right? Like, we're sick of some of those managers. Like, what's the Sheffield United geezer's name?
Wilder.
The Wilder, the Allardyces, like, some of these guys just keep getting the jobs on the basis that they'll keep a team up and stuff. But actually,
Warnock and them man there.
Yeah. So to your point about McKenna, that's to your point about McKenna, that's why I think I'm more not just that he's ex-Man United, but at least they've tried to go an innovative route, try something different, and it's paid off. Same with Carrick at Middlesbrough. I know Middlesbrough are struggling, or not struggling, but they're not there yet. But just being a bit more bold to take a chance on somebody who might play a bit more progressive football overall.
All right, let's move on now to our Doc Watch, gentlemen. Battle of the Baddest. The documentary Netflix made that charted the 6 months, was it or longer? Yeah, 6 months leading up to the Francis Ngannou Tyson Fury fight last year. I mean, gee, I don't want to influence your answer here, but
you don't need to.
Was anybody impressed by this?
Oh my goodness. You and Ollie both are not allowed to pick documentaries.
It was terrible.
Oh my! You know what? I mean, this is Teapot calling, whatever the phrase is, but it was the most shameless promotion of here we are in Saudi Arabia and we do boxing now. It was terrible, and to think that it got released, and we all know like that. AJ just dispatching Ngannou easily, but they're trying to build it up like it was like one of the world's greatest fights. The two baddest on the planet. No, it was terrible. And to think that that's on Netflix, like people pay subscription for that. That's the type of thing that you get free on Sky in the build up to thing. I mean, I know Sky has a subscription too because it's not free, but that should be never something that I'd have to go and log in to an account to go and watch. You know what I mean? Terrible.
I just two things more for me that I thought problematic were I didn't like the only thing that I thought was interesting was Francis Ngannou. So I learned quite a bit that I didn't know about him. Right, so watching him, I've heard interesting stories about him, but just kind of seeing a bit of his journey and what his background, I didn't learn anything from Tyson Fury. I just thought he was his usual clown self. It was boring for me. But the second thing is that I think Netflix is taking us for idiots. I reckon they think that if they overly produce a documentary and make it really slick with really great drone shots and really good fast edit cuts, that supersedes editorial and that would impress people. Because I'm like, this was a slick production, but it was just an awful documentary. And I just wonder if we're being dumbed down by, especially sports docs, we're just being dumbed down with what we're being served up. I don't know if you think I'm being harsh on this, or what your thoughts are.
Do you know what? It's funny, right? Because let's be very clear, I didn't enjoy it. But I don't think it was as bad as G saying, because I've always said on the documentary front, it's about me learning something new, Jord, and understanding something new. So as an example, I think it was a massive Saudi loving, and it wouldn't surprise me if they funded it. But like, I didn't know when they made the fight that the stadium wasn't built. I didn't know Francis's backstory and where he'd come from. And I knew about, because I know the story of Tyson Fury quite well, but even like them talking about his battles with depression and his manager talking about when he was like 27 odd stone, I kind of got the direction they were going in. I think the problem with Netflix, and we talked about, where did somebody luck out? I think we talked about the Dart show, the Dart documentary that's coming, and they've lucked out with Litlow, who's going to really be an interesting watch. Where Netflix didn't luck out is Tyson didn't boss it, and Ngannou didn't win. In fact, it was like that middle ground of Fury shouldn't have won, but he did. So then it was like, boxing's so great, but actually boxing is actually just a farcical sport, because under no circumstance should he have won it. So I think they just got unfortunate with the result, because they built it as, is this going to be the biggest upset, or is the legit heavyweight champion going to put the MMA conversation to sleep? And neither really happened, right? So that was a problem. And I actually liked a lot of the interviews by other MMA fighters and boxers. I like Tyson was quite interesting, and the whole narrative that Ngannou got him on the team and Tyson Fury's named after him. But overall, it was still terrible. Like it wasn't. I was
wondering where you were going.
Yeah, me too. Me too, Jim.
I was playing devil's advocate. I was trying to be positive. And it's like, it's probably, I don't know how many pods we're on now, maybe 6 or maybe 10, 11 pods, but like our track record is terrible in terms of selecting great shows. And I don't know if it's us, whether we're picking wrong uns, or whether it's showing that
the bar's low
quality of shows out there where, you know, the likes of Drive to Survive just sticks out. Like, for me, it was just very gimmicky, but a bit different to you and G. I did still learn some stuff, and I quite liked when they were talking about the promotion. They really made the promotion video seem like it was the best thing ever shot. But I like the fact that they tried to like put a different perspective on how they promote fights and stuff.
Well, G, just on that point finally as well, there was a lot of talk, and I get it, the promoters are going to do this, but there was a lot of talk of, oh, if Ngannou wins, this is not only going to be the biggest upset in sport, it's in boxing, it'll be the biggest upset in sport. And I thought to myself, okay, let me just deep that for a second, and because at first I laughed at it and I thought, shut up. But then I thought, okay, let me kind of think of it. Is there any legitimacy to that claim at all? And I thought, what are some of the biggest upsets in sports? I thought an MMA fighter beating the heavyweight boxing champion of the world.
Not just an MMA fighter, an MMA champion, heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
Like, for me, San Marino beating France is an upset. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that is not an upset. Like an unranked tennis player beating Djokovic is an upset.
Like, even then, it's got to be like a semi at least. It's got to be a game of significance, not like the first round. Go on, G. Were they overdoing it, or am I being?
They're all well overdoing it. And even like, I know Marv kind of said he liked hearing from like Tyson and all that. They overdid it with like the celebrity endorsements anyway as well. Like they had literally had everyone who's anyone in boxing in the screenshot, but not really doing much or saying anything that anyone really cared about.
With that, G, because the bottom line is, and it goes back to a conversation that Ollie and I had on the last pod, like, even though this person is MMA, right, all of the biggest names in boxing were in attendance, right? Like, I think that was a good call out, because you forget that realistically, this is a person that's never done a boxing match ever, but because of the size and gravity of the conversation, all of the who's who in boxing wanted to be there. I thought that was all right.
Did they Marv in, or they paid to be there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was contrived. Did it not feel contrived to you?
I think so.
I mean, it's one of those things. I've said it a billion times. You don't think boxers are bathing in cash? Like, if a Saudi man calls me,
no. I'm not. Listen,
if
Marv.
they call me, I'll be there.
Yeah. I'm not angry.
I mean, if they call you and offer you a free first class flight, you don't even need to get paid. But what I'm saying is, they were still there. Like, I think even if you pay Mike Tyson, well, not Mike Tyson, that's a bad example, but if you pay Lennox Lewis to go to a Jake Paul fight, I don't think he's going in the same way. Like, there was a genuine thing of this guy.
I think he is. I think if you pay as well. Yeah,
I think the propaganda worked on you. I think this is.
Gee, I thought it was terrible. But you gotta go
in terms of like, I think everyone was there because they were getting paid. I don't think anyone cared about the fight.
Yeah,
I don't know. You think a Saudi man's gonna like find the bedsit that Prince Nassim sleeping in and go, "Do you want to come to the Saudi fight?"
I do. I actually do.
I actually do.
I do as well.
Well, when the man then went out there for the World Cup and stuff, they were getting like Rolexes as gifts. Just
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe you're right.
Anyway, it was trash. G, give me a rating.
One click.
Marv.
Yeah, I'm still at 1. 2 is too much.
Yeah, I'm batting between 1 and 2. I mean,
I agree with you, Jord. It was well produced, but I'm not giving more than 1 for that. Maybe that means more to you in the media, but for me,
no. Just as a viewer, things that are slick, I think matter. Oh yeah, come on.
But either way, 2 people are going with 1. So
yeah, so it's a 1. Okay, we spent way too long on that. All right, it's now time for this.
What you talking about, Willis?
All right, Marv, what you got this week? What are you saying?
Oh, Jordan. We missed the last week's pod, so the list is really, really long. But
you can go for a couple.
Okay, all right. Let me. There's 2 that I need to call out, and one is very pertinent to the content of this pod. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I want to just give a honorary mention to the Blackpool player Gary Taylor Fletcher, who actually said that in one season, the 2010-11 season, he had Vidic on toast for 2 games, meaning that, Vidic isn't in the conversation for top Premier League centre back. And I thought, mate, just get a real job. Do you know what I mean? Like that is for clicks, right? Like that. And to be fair, I went and did the research. He did score, but we won 4-2, Jord. Do you know what I mean? It was like, So honourable mention to him. Another honourable mention, and Jord, you will shake your head here, right? But I have to give it. In fact, you know, it's not just one person. I've got a list of 4, and there's probably 5 others I could name. That list of 4 includes Harry Redknapp. It includes Henry Winter. It includes Holland of the England setup, but your favourite man, Gareth Southgate, for their treatment of Ben White and the way that all went down on his refusal or his reluctance to be called up for England. Let me just talk about that for a second, right? For me, it's very simple. I think the way Gareth Southgate handled the question and the way he, in my opinion, incited a lot of bad sentiment to Ben White based on what had happened at the World Cup camp before. And for me, Jord, I just don't think it was necessary. Like, obviously, England are having some problems at right back and centre back. Gareth was asked a question about Ben White. He could have said, look, he's not in the squad. I want to concentrate on the people that are in the squad. And he could have stayed there. If he said he didn't want to get called up, that would have been a bit too much information, but stayed there. But to say I've got a call off Edu, Ben has informed us he doesn't want to be called. I think I've seen so much negative sentiment, particularly from the likes of Harry Redknapp. The door should be closed. It should be smushed in his face. Like, it's an honour. People talking about fallen soldiers and the war. It's an England squad in friendlies, Jordan. And the man felt disrespected by Holland. And I even, like, a bit like Holland, I was surprised that he came out and said, you know, he's not a massive viewer of football. And it seems like that's where the spat has come from. And it's grown and grown and grown. And what I think it means is, it wouldn't be surprised if his inbox on social media is full of hate. He'll probably not get that endorsement, or there'll be companies that want to work with him that won't want to work with him anymore. I've already seen loads of memes. It was so unnecessary. I think it was so badly handled. And particularly some of the journalists like Winter, I felt it was such bad taste with the way they made it seem like he disrespected the club. I think he had an individual decision. He's got a problem with the camp and he doesn't want to be there. We've seen it with Ziyech at Morocco. Like, it happens all the time. But the minute it happens at England, people start talking about World War II. I didn't like it at all. It stems from Southgate. I hate Southgate. And that's the end of that's the honorary mention.
Just before you get to the actual one, so I disagree and agree. So I agree with you in terms of, where I disagree is your criticism of how Southgate handled it. I think Southgate was right to explain what happened.
No, Jord, he would be right, if he was honest. But he has said time and time again, he doesn't quite know why Ben doesn't. He knows exactly why White doesn't want to be there. And G's right, it's alleged that it's a spat with Holland. But let's not give half the information. So if you're going to answer the question and say, he said, I don't want to be in the squad, then you've got to say,
is that a problem with someone in my camp? True? What did he say that's not true?
He's not. Yeah.
Okay.
He said he doesn't know. He's not quite sure of the details.
Well, you can't say you're being transparent and then give half the information. Doesn't work that way.
Jord.
That's what sets Ben White up for.
And I think you guys, I think we're going back to Southgate chatting, but I think you guys underestimate the importance of at certain times when you're in positions of leadership, the ability to be diplomatic. Sometimes when you're in a position of leadership, you can't just be always honest. You can't just be always open. You can't just always tell it as it is.
Don't claim to be open. Just don't say anything at all.
When he says straight, if he says nothing, then the narrative builds up that something's happened, as it indeed it did. So we can't win.
It did. Yeah. So don't say...
You can win by being honest.
No, don't say, be honest or say nothing at all.
So what? Okay, let's say it kicks off. Let's say it kicked off, G. Let's say it did kick off.
You know Ben White can't come out and say anything. He can't talk. You are the most powerful person in that position. If anything, if you're going to play diplomacy, blame it on yourself. Blame it.
If you want to protect Holland, say we probably didn't handle the player the right way at the World Cup, or we had some disagreements, and that's why he's gone on like he's almost gone on like Edu's. Yeah, it's almost like he's taken the call from Edu and been like, that's a surprise. He knew it was coming, Jord, and like let's not pretend.
Maybe.
It's cowardly.
Possibly, but where I agree with you.
Let's be clear. I'm not just blaming Southgate. I don't know if you heard the Harry Redknapp interview.
Well, I was getting to that. Where I agree with you is the reaction to his turn is absolutely embarrassing. It's rubbish. It's crap. And I agree with you. This whole idea that he should be honoured. It's a disgrace. He's disgusting. String him up. Take off his head. He shouldn't be able to eat ever again. He's a national disgrace. It's like I can't even swear on this podcast, but it's embarrassing. Do
you know what it is, right? Like, I'm a man that loves a war show. So Masters of the Sky is a real show rather than Battle of the Besties, and like the Pacific Band of Brothers, where you see an insight into World War II. We're talking about men dying in trenches here, Jordan. It's not comparable to a man going, I don't fancy going to 2 friendlies for England. Like, we need to really know. And I'm not saying football's not important, but a man has made a decision. We've got to respect it, and we've not got to throw him under the bus in my opinion, if he's had a massive row and a massive ruck with someone, like he's well within his rights.
But Marvin, here's the thing: even if there hasn't been a row, let's just say there's been nothing's happened. He doesn't want to go. I just don't want to go. How about that? I just don't want to go. It's not for me. And what makes me laugh is that if he went, Marvin, and he didn't give his all, and he took a spot and didn't give 100%, they'll be killing him for that. Yeah, they'll be saying, you're playing for your country and you're playing at 80%. So anyway. So who does get the award this week?
I mean, it won't come as any surprise, but you know, Mr. Stuart Webber, former Norwich sporting director, who came out. I couldn't believe what I was reading. He called out Raheem Sterling in particular. And it's weird, Jord, because from my end, it's like, I think there's some narrative when you see black players like Mainu, like Tony starting for England, that England has put all their racial woes behind them. Or sport. I won't even narrow it to just football in England. And then somebody in arguably a position of power who has the ability to make or break a black or white person's career says something like that. And you'll probably go back into his archives and see the amount of black players he's released versus the amount of white players he's released. And the incendiary way he framed it as in regards to, you know, football saves these black players because they can't get a job or do anything else but play football. I read the article stunned and in utter disbelief. And I can't believe the media are making more of it. It was not only in bad taste, it was absolutely abhorrent in terms of that. And I'm really, really disappointed in people of such sort of high, you know, we just talked about Norwich. I know he's not in the job anymore, but in such a senior role, talking about the fact that if black players don't make it as footballers, then they'll end up in jail. I was really, really, really gutted about that.
Yeah, I've got so much more to say on that, but we haven't got time, and it's just a madness. But I'm not surprised, not particularly surprised. Just before we go, just a couple of quick shout outs to a couple of events I've been to in the last week. The Football Blacklist last week, created by Leon Mann and Rodney Hines. Fantastic event celebrating all contributions. Were you on the list, Jord? No, I got my award a few years back. I got mine a few years back.
So no, you wasn't on the list?
No, I wasn't on the list.
Okay.
But the Football Blacklist, honouring and celebrating all contribution from black people off the field of play. Fantastic event. Big up Leon and big up Rodney. And last night was the Sports Journalism Awards with the new president, Darren Lewis of the Daily Mirror, CNN and Sky. Fantastic event. I stopped going to it. I'm not going to lie. It was great. Real new. Lots of young people. They're bringing in young people, young journalists, lots of women, lots of black people, vibes and energy. It's definitely an event that...
was that the one where Piers Morgan won an award a year or so back? Is it the same award?
Maybe. It was. Yeah, it was.
So we're seeing a refresh because there was quite a lot of booing when Piers won it last time.
No. They got new people running the show now and in charge of the awards. Yeah, none of that nonsense this year. So I want to big up those two awards, doing great work for people like me. Anyway, don't forget, as I mentioned earlier on, subscribe to the podcast, please. Give us a review, give us a rating. Just go into takes 5 seconds. Just go into the pod thing. We're at the section where you can click 5 stars, write a comment, even just put an emoji. Even an emoji, just a thumbs up, flames, whatever it may be. Leave us a comment, a review. That will be even better, and more importantly, share it to all your people. Let's get this pod nicely growing, because I know you guys listen to it, so let's support the ting. Marv, what's it? Ollie's not here, back next week. Thank you for your time. Until next time, peace.